Hey guys, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. And today we are actually in our smart garage. It's actually kind of a home setting. Today we are reviewing the Vitruvian V-Form. If you're anything like me, you've gotten 5,000 Instagram and Facebook ads on this. You're wondering, is it better than that one or 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 that one smart home gym? Should you buy it versus just building an entire home gym? We're gonna answer all of those questions today, compare it to others that are out there, and then I'll ultimately tell you who, if anybody, I think it's for. Whew, it's gonna be a good one. Let's get into it. The V-Form trainer from Vitruvian takes something very similar to tonal. It uses magnetic resistance, meaning the resistance, unlike free weight system, is adaptive. So it can increase the load at different times. It also feels much different. One of the unique and I think biggest selling features for this, especially for people that train heavy, up to 200 kilograms, so 440 pounds. And you're thinking, well, I'm a 600-pound deadlifter. 440 pounds on a magnetic resisted device is much different and vastly more difficult than what you'd find on a typical free weight system. It's adaptive to the type of training you do, but also you can increase the load depending on what range of motion you're in. So if you want to increase the eccentric, you're stronger through the eccentric than you are in the concentric. So what I mean by that is, like, you can deadlift 200 pounds, but if you were to start the rep at the top, you could technically lower, say, 300 pounds, 400 pounds. Like, those are real things. You can increase that load within the app. Now, I'm gonna start with the hardware and talk about that. I'll then go through the software and show some of the accessories as well. So come down to the floor with me and I'll show you. Okay, this is the V-Form trainer. I think it's a beautiful device. It's a aluminum frame. That aluminum frame wraps the internals, so all the magnetic resistance and all the internals is found inside of that aluminum frame, and then on the outside is a carbon fiber shell. Yes, this is actual carbon fiber. I actually asked the founder why you would choose carbon fiber. Carbon is known to be a little bit difficult material to manufacture with. It's more expensive, all those sorts of things, and it's not going to be that much lighter for this application than others. And he said because it looks damn cool. And I agree. This thing looks like a race car. There's this little mat on top just to protect it, but you can see it is nice. Not only the grain, but they also have this nice LED bar on both the front and back. Not only that, because it doesn't have to be installed permanently, you can move it. It does have wheels on one side, so I can pick it up and roll it back and forth somewhat easily. I mean, it does weigh 80 pounds, so it's just nice that you can stick it in somewhere if you want to travel, or if you just want to use it in different settings, something that maybe some competitors you can't do with it. So that's the outside of the shell. Now, before I get into the software, I want to talk about the placement of the handles. So what's different about this, and I think something that people are going to ask and think about, is why would I or why would I not want cables or resistance coming from the floor? So you look at something like tonal, and the resistance is with these arms. So these arms come up, move around. You can adjust them all up and down, and you do it frequently. You actually do it constantly. So in the workout, you're constantly changing the angle. It can be somewhat annoying. This one, all you would really change are the handles and the accessories that you're using, which I'll talk about in a moment. The benefit is you never have to change anything. You're not having to adjust it. You can just leave it as it is. So there's less things to break. There's less friction. It takes less to get your workout done. It's always there. The downside is there are some movements that you can't do. So they say you can do 200 plus exercises, and I believe it because there's some weird exercise out there. An example is lat pull downs. You can't do lat pull downs. Now, you can hit the back very effectively through rows and deadlifts and movements like that, but there's no pulley coming from up above. But I do want to say, just from the get, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think you can get an incredible workout with resistance from the floor. In fact, if I think about the cable machine that I use in my garage gym almost more than any other, it's kind of the belt squat. I use it a lot. And it's because there's a cable that comes from beneath. I can use it for rows. I can use it for squats. I can use it for curls. Like, there's a lot that you can do if it's coming from the floor. Another like all-in-one unit that comes from the floor is the X3 bar. Like, people get really strong and like train really hard on the X3 bar. Next is this thing is connected. So you have to connect it to Wi-Fi if you want to use the app, like you'd assume. And that means there's a motor running and a fan. And if you get really close, you can hear the fan. I can somewhat hear it from here, but it's very quiet. So that's the machine. Let me show you the accessories. Now, one of the unique parts of the device and one of their selling features is that it has a unique connection system. So this is actually a part I really like. I was skeptical at first because I'm so used to using carabiners and I like to use my own accessories, and I can understand if you do too. But one thing that's nice about this is they use a one-hand system. So you don't have to get down here and use a carabiner. Not like that's very hard. I really like this system. So the way that you do it is you just push that and you can pull it out. And all of the accessories use that. Now this can be annoying because they use a T-lock, and so the problem is you have to buy their accessories. So what if you want to use a Prime Fitness handle or something like that that's expensive, you already have it, please sell just this device so then you can attach carabiners to it for people that want to use their own handles. I think that would be very nice. I will say Vitruvian's handles and their accessories are very nice. Although they can be pricey, they work really well. But the way they attach is pretty simple. You just come down, press it in, and you're locked in. And if you want to take it out, again, you can do this with one hand, press down, pull out. Honestly, this is a fantastic handle. So they have different bars, different feet attachments. Honestly, if you're spending this much, you might as well get the nice stuff because you're gonna have a wide variety of stuff to use. If you don't buy it initially, you're gonna have to pay extra shipping to get the upgraded version later on. Now, one other device, just like some others, is they do sell a bench. And you can see this is a very unique bench specific to this version. So the way that this works, if you can't really use this unless you're just trying to do decline or incline all the time, you can't really use it on the ground. It's made to be used on the V-form. So as you can see, it just sits on there well. I like how compact it is. This is a pretty nice flat bench. Like, it's very sturdy. The foam and the covering is nicer than what we see from competitors. Has a nice branding, indented. It has that unique shape, which I actually think is kind of cool because you don't need a full pad where your head is, and this can provide some extra room to put dumbbells if you're doing J press or skull crushers or something like that. There's the accessories, there's the hardware, but really you're buying this because of the combination of the hardware with the 440 pounds with the software. Let's get into the software. So unlike some competitors, there's no screen on this device. The way I would use it probably is I would use my phone and I would connect it to the TV so I can see my reps, like the weight that's changing as I'm using it, just everything in real time. It's one of the downsides to Vitruvian, but there's also a plus side in that you're not gonna crack the screen. You're not gonna pay extra because it has a screen. I think there's a lot of benefits to this. I would just say many of you, if you're putting this somewhere, you're probably gonna want a TV buy because I use this with my phone and it's just not big enough. One of the nice things about these training tools is that they basically have virtual logbooks. It will automatically select the weights for you based upon previous weights that you've done. It's kind of like an AI personal trainer. So they show all your activity in the beginning. They then have like the coaching section. So they have hundreds of workouts of basically coaches taking you through training, but there aren't nearly as many of them. And so if you're looking to get on this device because you want to take classes, live classes, all that sort of stuff, I do think that this device in comparison to the competition isn't at that level yet, but they're also a much newer company. Now, one thing that's unique about this is in order to get your range of motion initially, you stand on it and you do 3 reps. So if I was gonna do curls, I'd select curls, I'd come on here, and I'd do 3 reps of curls that are unweighted, basically. So after the 3, it basically judges where you are out in space, so like how high you're going, how low you're going, so it knows when to apply the pressure or when to release the pressure, also know how to track your reps. Because it's tracking your reps in real time. You don't have to log them in. It's going, okay, he's gone this high, that low, there's a rep, and it is very accurate. That was one thing about it, similar to some others that are out there, like it's more accurate than I think most people would expect. So after I do 3 reps, it then kicks in the resistance. There's 4 modes that you can choose from: pump, time under tension, old school, and eccentric only. Eccentric only, I think, is the most unique. Basically, they remove the concentric portion and just pump up on the eccentrics. I'll talk about it more in a moment, but I really wish they would just give you access to the algorithm. You have the 4 different you can choose from, but I really wish you could just crank a dial and say, okay, on the concentric, I want it to be 10 pounds. On the eccentric, I want it to be 30 pounds. It can do that, I don't know why they haven't allowed that in the machine yet, and I hope they do in the future. But one of the nice things is because it's software-based, not hardware-based, the hardware can do all of that. I know that's gonna be maybe less user-friendly for some users, but some that actually train and have been training for a long time would like access to that. So I'm hoping in the future they add that. So there's the basics of the software. Now let me tell you about how it combines itself. Here's what I'd say. The hardware vastly outshines the software on Vitruvian. And I think that's a good thing for an immature company. What I mean by that is the hardware, once you buy the device, you're not gonna update the hardware on the device. You update the software. And it's one of the nice things about smart home gyms is you receive over-the-air software updates, so your training is constantly changing. Example, Tonal is a vastly different device than when I initially bought it 2 years ago. Like, it's completely different. The same can be said probably for V-Form. So although their software is the worst part of the device, I'm hoping that over time they get user feedback, they put more money into the programming and all those sorts of things, so like it's a complete device. Right now it feels a little bit incomplete when I compare the hardware, which is beautiful. The software, just in my opinion, does not compare. Now let's get into it in comparison to others. There's all these different devices you can go with. How does this compare to those? Well, I'd say this one is still king. In comparison to V-Form, for the general consumer that is just looking to basically have a personal trainer where they go up, select a workout, it goes through it for them, it selects their weights for them, you can use it for all different things. You want motivation in the training, Tonal is still king. Now that doesn't mean that the hardware on Tonal is better than V-Form. In fact, I would say the hardware on V-Form is superior to Tonal. There's less clinking, there's less plastic, like the feeling of it is extremely solid. The V-Form can go up to 440 pounds. This goes up to 100 pounds per arm, which is significant, but it's still about half of that. You can't deadlift heavily on Tonal. You can't squat heavily on Tonal. V-Form you can. So for some people, that doesn't matter at all. My wife, for instance, she could care less about how heavy the device is because she's not powerlifting. That's not the type of training she's doing. So take that into account for when I'm talking about these. But just from a hardware basis, I'm a huge fan of V-Form. Tonal software is still superior. And because the software is superior, and because the classes are better, because it reduces the friction from people getting to the results they want to get to and the reason they're using these devices, that's why I think Tonal is still the better buy, even though it's more expensive. But that is something to consider. When we're looking at pricing, to me, shipped, installed, accessories, all the things that you're really gonna have to have, it's over $4 grand. When I compare that to V-Form, it's around 2,800 bucks. So you're looking at an over $1,000 difference. And I'm not even including the membership costs. Like, it's just a lot of money when you're thinking about it. But these are devices that truly can change your life if you use them, and it's a personal trainer like in a box. I can understand spending the money. I think it's worth it. I think your health is worth spending that money on. Now, compared to some of these others, I like V-Form better than Tempo because you can go really heavy with Tempo, just like you can on Vitruvian. But it's using free weights, so you have to put them on a barbell, you have to put the collars on, all those sorts of things. Things that you don't have to deal with on V-Form. So, here's my summation. It's good. Is it as good as the competitors yet? No. Do I think it can be? Yeah, I do. This thing can be a freaking winner, especially when you consider that it's over $1,000 less than a comparable model from something like Tonal. I need some water or something. That was a lot of words. What do you think? Like, I know there's like, you know, people love smart gyms, they don't love smart gyms. Like, this is a smart gym, I think, that could rally a lot of people that are heavy lifters, because that's one complaint with some of these others. They just don't get heavy enough. Dude, 440 pound deadlift on this, like I did a heavy deadlift with this, it is very different than what you'd find with a barbell. And I love that you can increase the eccentric. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know what you think of smart gyms in general. Do you think it's worth it versus comparison to something like Tonal? Let me know in the comments. This is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Peace.